Hey everyone, it's Divine Readings with the Gypsy with yet again another walkthrough, and this will be probably my last walkthrough of the day. And I'm going to do a quick walkthrough and slash review of the Kabbalistic Visions Tarot by, that's the deck creators, is Marco Marni and Luigi Scampini is the creators of this deck, and they're both Jewish, and this is a very Jewish deck. When we will look at the cards, we'll figure out some of those Kabbalah symbolisms and things like that. It comes in this big, beautiful magnetic box, but I am storing my seashells and some of my other goodies in it there, so I'm probably gonna try not to show too much of the junk box. It became a junk box. But yeah, these are the cards, and let's take a look at the guidebook real quick. The guidebook is it's a very thick, meaty guidebook, by the way, and it's kind of has the small text, so you're not lacking information. What you're going to need a lot of information and for this, using this deck as far as divinatory purposes more than study purposes. It has Tree of Life. It has some of the Kabbalah, what was it, the references here and the Sephiroths. And it gets into the crowns and the chokma, brana, what is it? Chaste, Griba, Tefrith. I might be butchering some of these names. Nasdaq, Hod, Yezdod, Malkuth. And it really gets into the history of the Kabbalah tree, and it actually gets into the suits and how they're separated, and they go from spirit, soul to body, the way of the spirit, and the 7 places of the way of the soul and the way of the body. And it gets into some, I believe they do get into some Kabbalah texts and stuff like that here, but it is just such a dense book that my attention span for learning Kabbalah and some of these very in-depth theology, the word is and then it gets into the cards. It really gets into the symbols in the cards a little bit there, and it really gives a lot of symbolisms in the cards and the majors, and then it gives you the divinatory meanings here with the past, present, futures, obstacles, and final results. And in the minors in this deck is a little bit of the description of the card, and then the little divinatory meaning there. It is a very meaty book, and you're going to need every single bit of it when you're working the cards, because it has no Rider-Waite apparent system to it, even though I think a lot of the guidebooks describe it being very Rider-Waite. It won't strike you as Rider-Waite immediately as you're reading the cards, though. And so it will go into the Kabbalistic cross, which is a few spreads here, and the game of the pyramid, system of 12 cards, bibliography right back here. There we are. And so that's the book, and I really think this book is very good essentials if you want to really get into the Kabbalah. Even if you want to just get the book and not necessarily the deck, that could be an option, but I really think that the book is very essential for the deck. Enough ranting, let me show you the cards. It has reversible backings, and it has the gold, not gold, it has the silver edges on the deck. And I do remember when I first cracked open this baby that the gilding stuck together really bad, and it was like one of those crunchy gildings where you had to bend it this way and that way so the cards didn't stick together. But I actually like the gilding. And then also another thing about this deck too is this deck was damaged a little bit, and I contacted Schiffer to get some of the cards replaced, and they replaced it with no issue. So here we are. Let me go ahead and show you the deck and zoom in a little bit. And yes, all the cards have black borders like this, and the art is in a scroll work like here, like so. And this one is the full card, and if you've watched or followed me during the, what was it, Tarot Perspective in August, this was one of the decks that I used for Tarot Perspective. I've always often described this deck, every time I mention this deck, as a sinister sense of humor kind of deck. It has Jewish art. It's very heavily influenced in the Kabbalah, but the art in this particular deck is kind of a little bit on that funny, twisted sense of humor kind of way. I really described this Fool card with the rainbow and the alligator, how it relates to the Thoth, and it kind of does relate to the Rider-Waite in a very good way, and you really have to pick apart the symbolism in this deck to really get the full Rider-Waite-Smith meaning out of it, which I did for the Tarot Perspective if you wanted to rewatch my video. Here we have the Magician card. It has little pretty twinkle toes on there, and he has like a board and also the infinity eye. It has all the elements in there if you really look closely. So there you go. This Popus card, or the High Priestess card, kind of has that same vibe going on like the Mary L. Tarot. So if you didn't like the Mary L. Tarot with the succubants drinking moisture out of her nipples, you would not really like this card so much. But the Mary L. Tarot with the Hierophant card does not bother me whatsoever, and you really can still get the meanings from all this. And oh yeah, as a disclaimer, if you look at some of the images closely, viewers' discretion is advised with this deck, because you got little gators with erect members and things like that. So I should remind myself to put a warning label on this video or this particular walkthrough, because there are some images in here that, if you look closely enough, that are not so kid friendly. And here you have the lovely Empress, and you get a lot of these kind of symbolisms without really getting into the having the traditional Empress meanings and things like that. Here you have the Emperor, and you would really love to know and get to learn your Kabbalah associations and meanings when it comes to this deck too, is another thing you're going to notice as we're walking through. This is just not the kind of deck that you're just going to pick up and read instantly. It's definitely a study deck that you're going to grow and learn with it over time. Here is the Hierophant card, the Pope card. We call it the Pope. And you have these two people on this boogie boards floating away from each other. And you got this meeting in the middle. I had to reread a lot of these symbolisms in this deck because I kind of don't get it unless it was explained to me. Here's the Lovers card. You got like the Greek lovers almost in a way. And with that angel in the middle in a way. Here you have the Chariot with a funky unicorn with 2 front feet. And you got a unicorn in this with the like an angel in her head and background. I think this one is kind of spunky. This one is definitely a spunky card. Oh, I love this Justice guy. This guy was really, really cool with the Justice card. Here's the Hermit, which is like the internal self. Very, very interesting when you really look at the symbolism. And here is the Wheel of Fortune card. Everybody's gathered around the world, and there's some fornications. I think that's actually a LGBT fornication right there. Actually, now that I'm really looking at this, they look like 2 men doing their nasties, and some other characters here naked and rectal selves and things of that nature. And this one is kind of a disturbing card for me, which is the Force, which is strength. It's this woman giving birth face downwards like this with a not my cup of tea usually, but it's a good study deck. It's a very intriguing deck. And this is actually one of my favorite hangmen, believe it or not, with this whale. It's like the Jonah and the whale kind of thing. And this is Death, the Death card. Kind of has a carny theme in this particular card. Temperance, you got this dragon. The Devil card is actually kind of close to the Thoth in a strange sense of way. And you got them fornicating, and then you got the hands of the divine rapturing or saving the souls up here from their earthly pleasures. The Falling Tower. My goodness. This one is the Star card, and they're leaning on the table with their boobies all over it and all that stuff. Oh my goodness. I like this Moon card, and then it got the Bob Kitty and her all fully exposed with the 2 pillars in the door, and forgot that Hebrew symbol there. The Sun card. Actually, this is a very elegant Sun card with this hunched over person with the alphabet on his back with a rainbow. Really cool. A little evil net laugh. And then the world, the awesome world. And then we get into the minors, which are just as bad as the majors as far as not following any kind of Rider-Waite symbolism whatsoever. So, right here. You got the 2 of Swords. I actually like this one as the 2 of Swords. And you got 2 older couples with each other. And the symbol of Libra, and the moon. And you got the 3 of Swords, 4 of Swords, 5 of Swords. 6 of Swords is a jousting match. Whoa. Really cool there. The 7 swords. You Kabbalistic Visions Tarot. Very funny. This guy makes me laugh in a strange way. I kind of use this deck more as an oracle deck when I do read it with it. But, dang. And then there's some... this where the guy seems to be enjoying the torture a little bit. Or he or she, could be either or, actually, now that I'm looking closer at him. And evil doctor for the 10 of swords. Yeah. And he's cutting like a Hebrew letter on him too. Yay. Princess of Swords. And the core cards are exactly like this too, which is like the other theme of the deck. This guy makes me laugh. The Knight of Swords. Oh. The lady there and him naked in the mirror and the reflection. God. And then you got your Queen of Swords, which is just kind of seems to be like that phallus that just comes right out of the thing. And you got the King of Swords dancing on the pole. I wanna swing from the chandelier. From the chandelier. Okay, no. I'll stop. Gives puppy love a new definition. And then you got the beautiful 3 of Cups. And it makes you wonder. And then you got the 4 of Cups. Ooh. Oh, this 5 of Cups guy just cracks me up. And there's, of course, little imagery of stuff going on in this falling tower and things like that. And this sage is really crying, and he's got this dripping oob coming down, and he's got this like a wow, very interesting 6 of Cups. I could be really here all day with looking at these images and talking about every single one of these cards. Bathlish. And you got the rainbows and the reflection of the cars. 9 of Cups. And you got your 10 of Cups right here. Beautiful 10 of Cups, actually. Oh, and this is one of my favorite cards, actually. It's the Princess of Cups. The Knight of Cups, I should say. Queen of Cups. And the King of Cups with the Sea Serpent. And I think he was with like a soul or a rag or something there, and he's got that sea serpent and crashing in the waves. That's really awesome. He's a Bamf. This just kills me sometimes. This deck just absolutely kills me. 4 of Cups. Why aren't these parents doing something about this girl pushing down this poor baby? Oh, so mean. It's such a mean deck sometimes. And then the 6 of Wands. It looks very 6 of Wands-y, actually. And then you get cards like this where you're like, oh, that is so Rider-Waite. That's so Six of Wands-y. And then you're like, where is it everywhere else? Seven of Wands. This horse cracks me up every single time I see it. He's laughing and going, hee 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 hee, we're a stupid human. My husband owned horses, and horses are notorious for doing that shit to people. And you end up being the one that's chasing after the poor animals. Should be the other way around. And this is like a bodybuilder for the Nine of Wands. He looks like he's been naughty because you got him the naughty finger. And then you got the beautiful Princess of Wands. And then you got the Knight of Wands. Da, 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 da. And I actually kind of like this, where the Queen of Wands is just the throne. And then you got the awkward Serpent King of Wands with the horns and the ears. Breathing fire. Out some of these Hebrew letter words. And then I think that we got the coins and then we're done. Oh my goodness. The Tree Serpent for the Two of Cups. Coins. Two of coins. Huh. Interesting one. Three of coins. This is actually very Rider-Waite-y in a way, where you could see that they're building something or creating something. This card always cracks me up. You got these people on the boat, and you got these girls with their shorty skirts and the guy down beneath looking up the skirt and things of that nature. Oh my god, it's so damn funny. This card always cracks me up. And then you got the Five of Coins, where they are kind of harvesting in the field, minding their own beeswax. Beautiful, beautiful Six of Coins. I actually love this one. This was one of my favorites when I first saw the deck. Beautiful Seven of Coins, actually. Eight of Coins. Nine of Coins. This little boy underneath doing something that he shouldn't be or should be doing with the grandma. 10 of Coins. So one of the cooler ones, I think. Princess of Coins with all her chakras. I think that this is like the Hebrew chakras up and down her spine. Knight of Coins. I thought this was really cool. Queen of Coins. Interesting. And then the awesome King of Coins. And I'm gonna shuffle the cards real quick, and I really think that this is an awesome deck for those of you that are open-minded and or want something completely different. Okay, this is not as bad as I thought it was gonna be. It's the slippery Schiffer cardstock, and it's that big slippery Schiffer cardstock, and I think this is such a good deck for those who are interested in the Kabbalah, want to study the Kabbalah, also who are interested in something that is absolutely different, collector's item, or you want to use a tarot deck more as a pip deck than an oracle deck than an actual Rider-Waite tarot deck. I think I could work with this again now that I've had all my Marseille skills and things of that nature. But when I first got this deck, I was still very much into my Rider-Waite system. I didn't know how to work with it. It was just so bizarre. It was such a bizarre deck, and it's still a very bizarre deck. But I'm more willing to work with it now that I've got my Marseille skills down pat than I did before. Although I don't know if I would actually do any client readings with this deck. This deck is such a quirky, whatever it is, kind of deck that I don't even think I would do a client reading for this deck. It would just be one of those decks that I would just probably use it for myself if I wanted to read with it. Alright, let me do a 3-card draw. Got the Knight of Wands. Got the Ace of Wands. And the cards themselves are really huge that I don't think you would want to actually do a really big reading or small reading. If you want to do a reading, it'd probably be a good 5-card draw or a 3-card draw, but you don't necessarily want to do a full on Celtic Cross or anything like that. Or a Romney spread, which I really love doing when I do readings with the tarot cards. And you could see how it would work together in like a 3-card spread, or how it would look as far as a 3-card spread or a 6-card spread like I have right now. I think it's still a very worthy deck if you wanted to do a smaller spreads and things like that. I just don't think it, since it's not really trimmable and it has that gilded edges, you don't necessarily want to trim this deck or try to make it smaller unless you're very adventurous and you with a one of those table cutters and things like that. But I wouldn't trim this deck. This deck is just the way it's supposed to be. And this is how I would read it if I were to read it. And I think I would do, like, I would be one of those people that would just do 3-card draws, or maybe even do something like a small cross spread, kind of like so. I've seen a lot of people do this kind of spread. It's very nice for that kind of spreads, but it doesn't really do well with the Celtic Cross, if you could tell. It would take up so much table space, and it would just completely, unless you have a big space to read with this deck. But even then, I don't think this is the type of deck that most people are going to use to read. I think they're going to use it more for study and or just learning more about the Kabbalah and really diving deep into the Rider-Waite symbolism or the Thoth. It's a very heavy Thoth deck too, or in the Thoth symbolism as well. And or if you want to also get accustomed to just learning pip decks, I think this would be a good tool for a pip deck, or just going with your intuition if you want to use this more as an oracle card than an actual tarot deck, even though this is really a tarot deck. Alright, and that's my honest review and walkthrough of the Kabbalistic Visions Tarot, and you all have a lovely one. Bye-bye.